Hi, I'm Analia, and welcome to Brightly Becoming, a podcast that gives you the space to slow down and come back to yourself. Here we talk through life in a grounded way, where conversations are held on identity, faith, and becoming who we're called to be. If you're in a clear season or an uncertain one, I'm glad you're here either way. It's time to come back to who you are underneath what you carry. Welcome to Brightly Becoming. You don't always realize how much your world has gotten smaller until you try to step back into it again. Today, I'm traveling out of state for the first time since getting sick, so about 2 years ago now, and I have so many different emotions just flooding in. And I figured this episode could help those who are working on getting themselves back out there, whether that may be after a chronic illness diagnosis like myself, or a life-altering event that forces you back into your shell for a while. After 2 years of my routine changing, what I'm able to eat changing, where I live changing, who I'm surrounded by, losing the ability to work, take care of myself, just healing after being on the protocol I'm on has been so rewarding, but it's taking a lot of getting out of my comfort zone. And if I'm being honest, I'm so nervous to travel and be in a large social setting again. Those what if fears creep in, similar to what we talked about last week. This week, it's what if I react to something in my environment? What if I don't feel good and I feel trapped? What if I can't handle it in the way that I used to be able to? Chronic illness has truly changed me a lot, not just physically, but the way I approach things in my life, my ability to make/follow through with plans, the feeling of my everyday routine being muscle memory versus now feeling like something that has to be prepared for. I just keep thinking about how I never used to have to think about those things the way that I do now. Traveling, going out, being away from what feels familiar, being away from my routine. Back when I lived with my boyfriend, we'd cook dinner together, and other nights we'd go out to eat, but I never thought to myself sitting in those restaurants, what if I react to this? It is such a privilege to not have to worry about that, and I realize that now. It feels like something I took advantage of looking back without realizing it until this point. I dream of getting to that place again in my life. If you're listening and that specific concern does not apply to your life currently, maybe it can just give you one more thing to be grateful about today. I know 2 years ago that I didn't think twice about the food I ate, the people I surrounded myself with, things in my environment. And just now looking back, it's like, wow, I really took that for granted. And how many things do we take for granted on a daily basis? There's this quote, I forget where it's from, but it's what you're complaining about is someone else's dream life. And it is so incredibly true. I find myself feeling sad when I see my friends post on social media that they're out to eat with the girls or out of the country with their boyfriends or husbands. It's like, God, when will it be my turn, right? I know I want to start doing more again. I want to experience things. I want to travel. I want to feel like myself outside of just managing my health. Getting your life back isn't just about deciding to take that step. It's about slowly rebuilding trust with yourself, and that's what we're talking about today. When our body doesn't feel safe, how are we supposed to feel safe? Over the past 2 years, I've been working on nervous system regulation. Your body holds on to so much trauma, you would not believe the things you're walking around carrying without even realizing it. You could be in another place mentally, in a great place mentally, while your body still thinks you're sitting in that traumatic event. Our bodies do not know the difference between time. I'll break that down for you. If you're thinking about a traumatic event, your body thinks you're currently living it. If you're thinking, what if this, your body thinks it's actually happening. It doesn't see what's actually in front of you. It doesn't see your feet planted on the floor, realizing, oh, I'm not in that traumatic event anymore. I think it's really important to process trauma. And for me, it's been a combination of processing trauma and lately also grief because the recent loss of my grandma. But just allowing yourself to hold two emotions at once and not shaming yourself for feeling them is so powerful. I feel so excited to see my boyfriend and his family after months of not being able to see him while he was in boot camp. And I also feel nervous to be around his family again in a larger social setting for the first time since all of this happened in about 2 years. The last time I saw them, I was having seizure-like episodes, panicking, crying, and now I get to show them how much I've healed. But there's also pressure that I'm putting on myself to make sure everything's perfect, that I feel good, so I'm not a burden and taking this time, this celebration time away from him. For me, having 3 chronic illnesses that don't allow me to predict how my body responds has naturally created a lot of fear inside of myself. Our body is our home, and when we don't feel safe in our bodies, we can experience an array of symptoms. For me, my nervous system has been on overdrive. I've developed obsessive compulsive thoughts and behaviors just trying to ensure myself that I'm safe. My anxiety has been worse. I went from being afraid of little to nothing to feeling afraid of everything. And the hardest part is you kind of just sit back and watch this all happen. It doesn't feel in your control until you recognize it's happening and you want to do something about it. I'm starting to realize that staying in what feels safe is regulating, but it isn't helping me move forward or get to that point of being able to live my life again. There are definitely seasons where we need regulation, and personally, only being able to eat one food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for almost a year now has helped my body feel safe again. Creating predictability equaled safety. However, now that I'm getting better, very soon I'll be able to work on my diet with my doctor, introducing more foods in. And as exciting as that is, it's also terrifying. It's so scary. So how do we get back into the world after being away from it for so long? You feel like you're living under a rock. You're forced to be back in your shell. That's where I am, but I'm coming out of it and I'm feeling ready for a little more. And this trip is another step forward toward that. The biggest difference now compared to the beginning of me getting sick is that I'm able to take care of myself. I've worked extremely hard in therapy and in physical therapy, and I know I have the tools to cater to every part of me that feels present that needs my attention. The most beautiful realization I've been able to make in all of this is realizing that my health issues have transformed me into the woman younger me needed when she was going through these, and we talked about that a little bit last week. I don't know how much I've dove into my own history with chronic illness, but my doctor believes I was born with them, and at certain ages of my life, they have been in remission, in a manageable state, but flares happen, and in my case, the perfect storm happened. So being able to create these new neural pathways has been so rewarding. I take a fear that 10-year-old me had, and I overcome it, showing her that we're safe now. Gently showing my body that I can do these things again. I can be in new environments. I can handle discomfort. I can move through uncertainty. I have all the tools, and so do you. And I think the biggest shift for me has been realizing I don't have to feel 100% ready to do something. There's no perfect time or right time for things to appear in your life or go after the things that you want. You just have to feel willing to want those things for yourself, willing to try, willing to be uncomfortable for a little bit, willing to trust that you can handle whatever comes up. And I think for a long time, I was waiting to feel completely ready, which held me back from so many things. Like once I'm not nervous anymore, once I feel totally confident, then I'll start doing things again. But that doesn't exist. We're human and we have off days. And I think confidence and trust in your body actually comes from doing the thing that scares you the most. After you show yourself that you can handle it though, you're left with this feeling of pride and confidence. Even if it's a small step, those steps add up. And sooner or later, you'll look back and see a whole staircase behind you. Thank you for being here. I hope this felt like a space where you could just slow down for a second and feel present. Wherever you are right now, you're allowed to be there. You aren't behind. You are becoming. Talk to you soon.